We're almost done. Popcorn, it is your turn again. Alright, going back to the beginning, thinking about your friends and your peers, your social groups, just kind of, life in general. Did you have a particular group that you kind of hung out with?
Mm-hmm.
Was it just a couple guys?
Jocks.
Jocks. Basketball team people.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball team people? Track?
Yeah, just jocks. Football people, basketball people, the people that I was a jock and we ran together.
Were they all about the same people? Did they ever change depending on the sport? Were they all about just everyone?
They were all about the same.
All about the same people. Did you kind of consider yourself part of a clique? I mean, I know that you're a boy, but,
Well, I think that everybody is to a certain degree is always in a clique. Everybody is.
Mm-hmm.
And, there in Grafton, I had a certain group of guys that I ran with, and we associated together. But I had one group we called ourselves the Three Musketeers, and
Sorry.
Yeah, the original. But no, yeah, we pretty much. But most of my school cliques were athletic oriented.
In your social one, not so much your school ones, were you willing and accepting of other people that wanted to hang out with you? Or no, we've just got our people,
No, yeah, we were wide open. It's just so happened that we
never ran
together. Yeah. There wasn't, anybody was eliminated. No, nobody was eliminated. Anybody wanted to join whatever we were doing, and they did.
Okay. Bullies. Were you a bully? Nobody?
Not in high school.
Or school?
No, in grade school, you're damn right. We had some bullies.
Were you a bully?
No.
No?
But we had some.
Okay.
The Harmon boys and a few of the others were all bullies. But that was grade school.
How about hazing?
Hazing?
Yeah, like with team, like freshmen coming into,
Oh, we'd haze each other in the jocks would.
Okay.
We would give each other hell just for the hell of it.
What kind of hazing was there?
Oh, I don't know.
Kind you don't always want to admit to?
Nothing like what was in the Air Force.
We put red hot in their jock strap.
I've heard that. I think it's icy hot now.
Yeah, we used to do that, and you always initiated the underclass when they came in. The freshmen or the sophomores, the ones that just joined the team, the newbies, all got to some degree some kind of an initiation one way or the other. But nobody ever bothered me. I was big, and I was pretty forward. I was certainly not.
Somebody to be messed with.
Huh?
Somebody to be messed with?
Yeah. You don't go around messing with somebody that's 6'4", 200 pounds. You just don't do it.
Sure. And you never took that stance on yourself to be the bully because of that?
No. We really didn't have any bullies. I can think of none at all. Some of the guys that I ran around with, and some of the guys were there, were harder on some of our teachers than they were on each other or the other kids.
How so?
Oh, we had one geeky teacher. He was taught industrial arts. He was a draftsman, and he taught us grafting. And the poor little guy, he was a little bitty guy, and the big guys always pushing him around, or he'd tell them to do something, and they'd say, "Well, I really didn't want to," and he really didn't know how to handle them. But Mr. Wilson did, and Mr. Wilson was they worked together, but they were two guys. You get Mr. Wilson in there, he straightened the boys up. He explained the benefits to them quick.
Did you ever stop any particular bullying that you may have seen?
I never saw any bullying in high school. I never really saw it in high school.
What about outside of the actual school?
No, I mean, in that era.
In that era? Okay.
No, I never. I take that back. No, I didn't get involved. Yes, I more or less didn't get involved. A kid who was a senior and I was a freshman in high school was jumped all over me one night down by the show, and that's the only fight I ever got into in my life. Mm. And I hit him and broke my hand, and I decided that wasn't any fun. So I didn't
go around
hitting anybody anymore because that didn't feel too good.
Did you break anything on him?
Yeah, he went home pretty bloody. I don't remember what it was. I hit him right in the mouth.
Oof.
In the nose. I think I may have broke his nose. I don't remember.
You broke your hand.
But that's the only time that I remember I ever had a fight in high school. And then one other time, one of our local bullies that we had, his father ran the soda fountain, drugstore soda fountain. And this buddy that I was running around with, he jumped on him, and this buddy of mine beat snot out of him. And that solved that problem. But that's the only bullying I can ever think of in high school at all, or arguing or fighting or anything. We just said nobody fought.
Fair enough. What did you kind of do to pass the time?
What did I do to pass the time? Summertime and fall. Summertime I swam in the rivers and worked. In the fall, when I could get off from the athletic practices and stuff, in the weekends, I would hunt. Same way in the wintertime. In wintertime, we did a lot of ice skating. We used to go up and, on the river and on the ponds next to were filled by the river and have skating parties and stuff. I loved ice skating.
Yeah. Kids out there ice skating today.
Huh?
Kids out there ice skating
I bet
today.
they are. I bet they are. I loved ice skating. It's a lot of fun.
Okay, getting back to, did you ever hear or know anything about sexual relations within your school, friends, anything?
No, like I said, my girlfriend got pregnant when I was in service, but other than that...
was she still in high school?
No, she was in nurses training, just had graduated from high school and was in nurses training.
Okay. Did you in your community ever hear of anybody, a girl probably leaving school, coming back, and mysteriously having a younger brother?
No, I don't remember that. But if you were asking were the kids in high school sexually active, yes.
Yeah.
But as far as, no, I don't remember anybody getting pregnant.
Was anybody ever married?
No.
No?
Not in my high school.
Not in your high school?
In my town.
What did you think about people being sexually active?
I thought it was great.
Okay. Answers a lot of questions. Did y'all talk about it a lot? I guess between the boys?
Oh, I think boys and girls both do. Yeah, some. You know, usually the ones doing all the talking didn't do anything. They just like for you to think they did.
Yeah.
The ones that didn't say much, look out.
And something's going on. Were there any particular gender roles in your community that was expected of just the men or the women?
Anything what?
Any type of gender roles.
Gender rules.
Roles, like
Well, girls did girl things, boys did boy things.
What were girl things?
Girl things were they dressed up and they learned how to dance way before we did. We'd stand around the dances and watch them dance with each other. And at first, and then as we got a little bit older, you got a little braver. Generally, girls were I think they were treated with a lot of respect by the boys, 99% of the time.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
What are boy things?
What were boy things?
Well, you said girls did, what did girls do?
Well, girls did the girl things. The girl things, you know, were, you know, the boy things were, you were a jock, played athletics.
What if you weren't a jock?
Huh?
What if you weren't a jock?
Oh, I remember there was a very limited few, like half a dozen guys in my junior, senior class that had cars. I was one of them. I don't really know. I spent all my time in athletics. I was so much involved in athletics and playing ball and everything else and between that and practice and working at the show hall, I didn't really have no time to worry about anything else.
Yeah. Okay. Pregnancy rate, did you know of it at all? Did you ever think of it?
No.
No?
Never thought of it. I don't remember any kids when I was in high school getting pregnant.
Was it ever discussed? You know, considering you obviously knew people that were
No, you didn't. That type thing wasn't discussed very much.
Yeah.
Except, you know, a couple of blowhards bragging about who they got that night before or something like that. But like I said, generally that was not the truth. They're just trying to impress the others.
Right.
That was a guy thing.
It still is. Still is. Cost of living. Obviously, you knew more about movie costs. Do you remember?
Yeah, movies. When I first started paying money, it was 15 cents for adults and 7 cents for kids.
How old were you at the time when you started?
I was probably 12.
Okay. So as you progressed in the age in high school?
The last time before I went in the Air Force, when I was in college, and I came back, I think it was, the adults was 35 cents, and I think kids was 15.
So it went up?
Yeah.
Even though they were more afraid that they were going to lose business due to the television?
Well, yeah, but the movies were getting bigger and better, and they were more expensive to buy, and the cost of doing business was greater.
Okay, fair enough. Ice cream costs.
Gasoline cost?
Ice cream.
Oh, ice cream, nickel.
A nickel? Okay. Gallon of gas. Tell me the rises and the influx.
15 cents to a quarter.
Did it influx in between that, kind of like it does today, or did it increase?
No, it just increased.
Okay. A hamburger.
Oh, probably somewhere between 15 cents and a quarter. I don't remember.
Okay. A new car.
3,000.
3,000. Okay. Yeah. Now that's the cost of your new car. Is that about an average cost of a new car at the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't know anybody that owned them big rich cars, so you know I don't have any idea what they cost in those days.
But those are the typical cars that you.
Yeah, it was Chevys and Fords and Pontiacs and stuff.
No foreign cars at the time.
No foreign. Oh no, Lord no.
Can't do that.
I didn't even know what a foreign car was until long after I was in service.
I don't think they made them at the time. So you had a car. It was a Model A.
Model A sedan, 4-door sedan.
4 doors.
1929.
What kind of, I mean, not that I'm going to know that much on it, I mean, stick shift, I'm assuming?
Stick shift.
How many miles to the gallon did you get?
Oh gosh, I don't remember. It wasn't that important in those days because we didn't drive that far and didn't have much money to spend, but gas wasn't that high. Hell, you buy, 15 gallons of gas for about $3.
Do you remember for what?
I said 15 gallons of gas was about $3.
Oh, I thought you said 30. I was like, that,
no,
what?
$3.
That's how much it is now.
Well, I'd say they probably got about 15 to 18 miles a gallon, something like that.
do you remember filling up your tank often, or was it like a once-a-month deal?
No, because after I brought it back, Mom was mad at me because I bought it and drove it back and didn't have any insurance on it, and she didn't think it was a good idea for a 16-year-old boy to be driving 1,500 miles across country from Montana to Illinois.
Did she not know that you were coming down?
And that made her mad.
Yeah, I can see that.
But no, that's about the way it was.
Yeah.
But then I bought when I was first went in the Air Force, Mom sold her car. She had a 52 Chevy, 4-door sedan. And she traded in and bought a new car. Because we were running 3 theaters at the time.
Wow.
One in Grafton and one in Brighton and one in Eldred.
Okay.
And so she bought a new, well, it wasn't brand new, it was about a year old, from her brother-in-law, Undertaker. He had a big black Chevy sedan. Undertaker, though? And she bought it.
Like a funeral home guy?
Uh-huh, the funeral home guy.
And you sold that? I would never buy a car carry dead people.
Well, it didn't carry dead people.
No, we didn't buy the hearse. It was John.
Oh, okay.
Just
all right.
a big 4-door sedan that you carried the families in to the funeral.
Okay.
And when she traded the car in, I went down and asked the guy that took the car, bought the car, if he'd sell it to me, and he said yes, and so I bought it from him for $800.
Wow.
It was a 52 Chevy. This was
$800.
This was in 54. Yeah, 54, almost 55. December 54.
Okay. Do you remember speed limits?
There weren't any.
None at all?
No.
Not even on the highway?
No.
Well, when did they start setting up those? I should probably know that answer, because I'm sure I've learned that answer. But.
Probably, I don't know. They must have done it about the time that I drove back and you were driving because I was sick, and they got stopped for speeding, didn't you? In Missouri, over by Joplin.
Did you ask them what the heck is the speed limit?
I got stopped for speeding somewhere. Where was that, though? But that wasn't coming home. I don't think.
So I'm going to say probably about they started establishing speed limits probably around 1955, and then basically everybody had speed limits by probably 1958 on the highway. Now in towns, I don't think the small towns established speed limits for a long time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now the big towns did, of course. So I don't know. That's
okay. The next question I know the answer to, but if there's another time, let me know. Did you drive across country?
Yeah.
The one time going from Montana to Illinois?
Mm-hmm.
Was there any other time?
Was there what?
Was there any other time that you did that?
That I went way across country?
Yeah.
No.
We were married.
I drove that Model A down to Rolla, to Missouri School of Mines.
Okay.
And that's probably as far as I drove it. I had it down there at college.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Where I went to college.
What was that like to just drive that across the country? Just pretty uneventful?
Well, no, there wasn't any freeways. Freeways didn't get, remember now, freeways got built after World War II because Eisenhower was the guy that built freeways in this country. And he built them because he said if we ever have a war in this country, you got to have the ability to move your troops from as big as we are, you got to be able to move them. So that's why you got the interstates and the big freeways.
What else? What's that thing that for every couple of miles you have to have so much length, it has to be
So
straight.
an airplane can land on it, yeah?
Straight, it has to be run straight. He put that requirement in there so that planes could land and take off.
Oh.
And so the interstate system had to have a length. So that you couldn't have you could have curves on it, but then you had to have a
Every now and then have a particular
Have a stretch.
have a
straight
stretch.
Long enough for a mile or two so you can land airplanes on it.
It's a good idea.
And he wasn't president until 1952, sometimes
Yeah, so all my high school life,
52 to 60.
we didn't have any freeways. And even when I went to college, you know, old Interstate 44, as you know it now, goes up to St. Louis and comes down to the turnpikes in
Old Highway
Oklahoma.
66.
That was old Highway 66, and you know, get your kicks on Route 66.
Yeah.
And that highway between Missouri School of Mines, the college I went to, and home, it was mainly a 2-lane highway, but there was a few 3 lanes in there, what we used to call guts highways, because you pull over that 3rd lane, and there was no rhyme or reason as to who owned it. You know, you got this lane and this lane, and you got traffic going like that, but you got one in the middle there on these hills, and somebody can come in, there's no restriction as to who could do what. So you just pull in it if you got guts enough to get in it and pass somebody if there's not somebody coming the other way, because they can come the other way and do the same thing.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Because it'll go, it's an either way.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Now, is to you freeway and highway the same thing at that time?
Freeway and a highway. No.
Did you have highways?
Freeways, to me at that time, were large 4-lane highways.
Interstate highways.
And there weren't any.
Right.
And until, like I said, until after 52, there just wasn't any at all. And there was very few of them until 60s. There were very few of them until the 60s.
So you drove on a highway.
A highway, and highways were normally 2-lane.
Okay.
Sometimes 3.
Okay. Going on to fashions. What was the fashion for the women, or not the women, you? What was your fashion?
Short hair, and just like basically the way I wear it now, or the way most men wear it now. We had a few wild ones, like, you know, we had a mohawk where they'd shave their head except for one line down the middle in high school. We had a couple of guys that did that, but you never ever saw any long hair.
No long hair.
In men.
Yeah.
You never saw long hair or any kind of tied back or rubber band back hair.
Mhm.
You didn't see. They'd probably run out of town if you'd seen it.
Probably would have. Do you remember anything particular about the women's fashion?
Do I remember anything about the women's fashions?
Yeah. Those dresses.
As far as hair goes, no. Girls didn't wear slacks much in those days.
Yeah.
And I don't remember shorts in Grafton at all in high school. I just don't remember any shorts at all.
Mhm.
The big deal was these long flared skirts. I mean, these big wide skirts like you see square dancers wear. That was what most of the gals wore. Very rare you saw girls in, maybe if you're really roughing it, you might see girls in a pair of jeans. Now, when I went to Marquette, those 2 years in that Catholic high school, we had to wear, the girls wore uniforms. They had a specific uniform they wore.
Okay.
And it had a, whatever you call it, straps across the shoulders.
Jumper.
And a square front on
okay.
it, and then they wore a blouse underneath it,
Mhm.
and it was relatively straight skirted, and definitely below the knees.
Yeah.
And the boys wore dark pants and light shirts, long sleeve in the winter and short sleeve in the summer, and always a necktie.
Necktie, like little
Necktie,
one?
a regular
Or long
necktie.
one? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I tried wearing necktie.
All of our skirts were like mid-calf. We didn't have any,
Yeah,
don't know if
below the
it's in
knee.
the short
Yeah.
skirts.
And and then when I got in high school, I think 98% of the time I wore jeans.
Uh-huh. And a nice shirt.
Yeah, and a shirt. Yeah.
Okay.
No T-shirts.
What?
No T-shirts. I'll bet.
No, I went to Marquette and wore a T-shirt and put a tie on with it.
I'm sure they were real happy about that.
Mother Spirit didn't think much. She didn't think that was funny at all.
What was your mom like on the way out? I really wish you wouldn't do that.
She didn't know it.
She's probably already at work.
Yeah, she was already gone.
Were you running late, or you just wanted to be coy?
Oh, I just wanted to be cute.
Yeah. All right. Music. What do you remember about music?
Country and Western and rock and roll.
Same thing.
And I remember I used to talk about country and Western, you know, if the old lady wasn't a drunk or a whore, and you know, all the...
You made fun of our music.
Huh?
You made fun of our music.
Well, I was about to ask you, was y'all's country music different from each other's?
Yeah. We didn't listen to well, my cousins did, though.
Paul Ann did.
Huh?
Paul Ann.
I know, and so did Dixie. And Dixie was an Arthur Murray dance instructor. And Dixie, that's all she listened to when she wasn't dancing Arthur Murray. But she gave dancing lessons. She taught me how to jitterbug. But
I mean, your country music was...
I don't think it was any different than the country music down there, but you didn't hear as much of the sad stories as you did. We liked the Bob Wills swing stuff and a lot of that country music.
Okay.
And
what was your favorite? Was it the rock and roll? Was it the country? Was it
rock
something
and roll.
else?
Yeah, I liked rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
And there was a lot of cute music at that time. I mean, it was catchy
Yeah.
and fun to dance to.
Yeah.
I took dance lessons, and I knew how to waltz, and I knew how to slow dance, and then Dixie taught me how to jitterbug. So
Funny name, Jitterbug.
that's what we called it.
Yeah. No. Okay. I'm assuming your first and only job really was the movie theater.
No, my first job really was my first real job was the orchard.
The Orchard? Okay. How old were you? About 12, you said?
Yeah, about 12.
Okay. And you said it was about $45 a day?
No, that's about 25 cents an hour.
25 cents an hour?
Normally it's about $2.50 a day. When we get to picking apples, we got 7 cents a bushel
Okay.
to pick them. And I was fast enough and big enough and strong enough at that later years in high school when I was picking apples, I could make $10, $12 a day.
Wow. Was that higher than most of the other ones?
Yeah.
Significantly, or only by about $1 or $2?
Oh, well, I could pick a couple of hundred bushel a day.
Oh, wow.
Easy.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be $14.
Okay.
And a pretty good picker was generally around 150 bushel.
Okay.
So that would put them at what? $10 a day.
Okay.
$10.50.
Wow. That's not, I mean, you're pretty higher. I mean, you're almost 50%.
Yeah.
Not 50. Well, yeah, about 50% higher.
Yeah.
Right.
No, 30% higher.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty good. Sports was basically basketball.
Basketball, football, and track.
And obviously, basketball was your major one.
Basketball and track were my two majors. I played football in high school, but in college I ran track and played basketball.
And basketball was your favorite?
Yeah.
Okay, you went semi-pro on that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, did you serve in the military?
What?
Did you serve in the military?
Uh-huh.
In the Air Force?
Uh-huh.
For how long were you in there?
20 years and a month.
What was your highest rank?
Lieutenant Colonel.
Okay. When you, I guess, first started, how much was your annual stipend?
Well, when I was a cadet going through flight school, I made $9,000 a year. I mean, $900 a year.
Yeah.
$67.50 a month.
Wow.
That included $25 a month flight pay. But when I
No, didn't you go up to 87 with the flight pay? I thought you went up to 87 with the flight pay.
Oh, I did. Yes, I did too. Yeah, that's true.
When you started flying, you got a $25
Yeah.
raise.
Wow, $25 extra just to fly?
25, yeah, they call it hazard duty pay.
Oh, wow.
And then when I got commissioned as a second lieutenant on flying status, made what, 175? 275?
You were making $375 a month.
$375 a month. And that was a second lieutenant on flying status.
And then you got promoted to first lieutenant, and we went to $425 a month.
Yeah.
We were rich.
Oh.
Got our bills paid off, and I quit work, and God, had a baby.
Well, that didn't take very long.
Yeah.
It was within the first year of your marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, not bad. You
But we bought a
enlisted.
boat too, didn't we?
What?
But we bought a boat too.
Yeah. My mother had a hemorrhage.
You enlisted, right?
Yes,
Yeah. What year did you enlist?
Pardon?
What year did you enlist?
1954.
Mm-hmm.
So you were 18, 19? 19?
Born in 34, 20.
20.
Well, I was going to be 20. I was 19 and a half.
Okay. Moving on. Love relationships?
Ernie, when in high school, and her.
Okay. Self-image? Moody, intellectual, geek,
I was
chocolate.
self-starter. I like to lead rather than follow. I like to give orders rather than take them. I wasn't backward or bashful. I don't know. I guess, does that cover it?
Outgoing, friendly, very confident, sure of himself. That's why they say opposites attract, Heather.
What?
I said that's why they say opposites attract.
Oh.
I could always stand behind him because he was always so sure of himself.
All right. Leading to more historical. And I'm going to add additional ones towards the end that you can decide to answer or not. I don't care. I don't know if it'll bring up, I don't know, whatever. World War II. How did it affect you or impact your life?
Well, World War II, I remember World War II, but it affected my life quite a bit because things were rationed, and because they were rationed, gasoline was rationed, tires were rationed. It was difficult for Mom to get tires and gasoline. We were trying to run 3 movies in 3 different towns, and trying to be able to do this stuff. So that part of it affected me. And then, of course, when I went into service, the reason I went into service and the reason I got into service without having a college degree was because they were screaming for pilots that were getting killed in the Korean War.
Yep.
But fortunately, the Korean War ended just as I graduated in pilot training.
Oh, so you never even served in the Korean War?
I didn't actually go to, if you're in service when the war goes on, you served in the war.
Oh, okay.
That's the way the government looks at it.
Okay.
So I'm entitled to carry Korean decorations.
Okay.
Because I was in service at the time. But I did not go to Korea.
Okay. So you never, like,
No.
were in combat, I guess?
I was never in combat, or I was never in country, as they would put it.
But you had every intention, because had it not ended, you would have gone.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Economic trends in your town and your state, the country itself?
Well, after World War II was over, there was a time there where all the servicemen came back, and they were all looking for jobs, and jobs were hard to come by there for a while, because all the gals had learned to work, Ruby the Riveter, and all the other famous things that went on. Women literally built thousands and thousands of airplanes, and then all of a sudden to put them, barefoot and pregnant, they weren't going for that very easy. So it made it a little bit difficult to get back into the swing of things after the war was over. But then the economy started to pick up rapidly.
Yeah.
And it was pretty good from then on. If we could have stayed out of Korea, it'd been great.
Who was the president? Eisenhower?
Well, actually, Harry Truman.
Oh, Sherman. Okay. And then,
And then Ike.
do you remember any particular inventions during your adolescence?
Like I said, television,
Television?
automatic transmissions in automobiles,
Yeah.
airplanes, jet airplanes.
Okay.
Air transportation boomed after World War II. Prior to World War II, all the airplanes were concentrated on going to war, and there was very little air transportation. After the war was over, everybody basically, if they were going to go very far meaning more than a couple of 100 miles, everybody started flying like they do today. It rapidly changed over from about 1948 to about 1955. By 1955, everybody, if they were going any distance, was flying. And
what about those bubbles? What were those bubbles called?
balloons, dirigible.
I don't know what they were.
Blimps.
There you go.
What?
Blimps.
The blimps.
Yeah, blimps, dirigibles.
Were those?
The Hindenburg that crashed, and
Yeah.
but that was earlier.
That was?
That was before piston airplanes.
Okay. I was just kind of wondering about that.
Yeah.
Okay. These are where a couple of the different questions come in, and if Mimi, if you want to chime in on this, you can.
Okay.
When you were younger, did you consider yourself more liberal or conservative?
I think I've always considered myself conservative.
Okay. At the time, who did you align yourself with, though? The Democrats or the Republicans?
Well,
because liberal and conservatives were not the same as they are now.
oh no, Democrats and Republicans, liberals and conservatives are the same as they've always been.
Democrats and Republicans have changed.
That's right.
Yeah.
Back in those days, you had the center of the road Democrats. There were great people. I mean, they were really super people. In fact, old Harry Truman, the buck stops here, was on his desk, and even though Harry's never been acknowledged as being a fabulous president, Harry was a damn good president.
Mm-hmm.
And he was very conservative. He was a haberdasher and from a poor background, and by God, he was conservative. He spent a dollar, he squeezed the hell out of a dollar.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's changed tremendously now. As far as I'm concerned, the Democratic Party is a spend party, and the Republicans have been damn near that bad, but not as bad. And but the conservatives are still conservatives, and they're not that way, and the liberals are still that way.
Okay. What was your thoughts on racial desegregation or Brown versus Board of Education?
Well, as far as segregation goes, the only thing that ever bothered me about segregation was I thought segregation was grossly, grossly unfair to both sides. The idea to, not segregation per se, but the idea that busing and things of this nature, and to give people a job because of the color of their skin, and to give them entitlements because of the color of their skin, I think you cripple, rather than giving them, extending the goals for them to go after. As long as you're fair, you got to be fair with them. Mm-hmm. As long as you're fair, and that didn't happen in the segregation era, and it still doesn't happen. It's still, in fact, it's even worse probably now than it used to be. But busing to get equal distribution is crazy.
Yeah.
It's insane. Makes no sense at all. I mean, save the damn money that you spend on busing and build the blacks a great school in their neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know, instead of trying to bus them, make it equal. And the same way with opportunities. I don't think that people should be given opportunities because of the color of their skin. And I don't think they should be given, everybody should have the same opportunity to do any damn thing that they got the guts to get out there and try. I don't care what it is.
Yeah. Make
money at whatever level, do whatever. But there again, liberty, in my opinion, your liberty stops where it infringes on mine. Mine is the same way.
Brown versus Board of Education. Basically, more so. Did you remember hearing about it?
Oh yeah.
You did. Okay. How much did it affect you and your town? Did it affect you at all? Did you have many?
No, because we didn't allow any blacks in town.
Okay. Was it just because you didn't want them in the area? Not you per se, but the town?
Well, East St. Louis and St. Louis proper, East St. Louis particularly, East St. Louis was known for two things: the mob and blacks.
Yeah.
And the surrounding communities, the big and the small, mm-hmm. tried to throw up every roadblock in the world that they could to keep them out. They wouldn't sell them houses. They wouldn't let them own property. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't let them even pass through. Well, they had a big banner right coming in. We only had one road that came into town back in those days. Came down Jerseyville Hollow. And they had a big banner over the front of it. Nigger, don't let the sun set on your butt, or it'll never rise.
Wow.
That's Illinois, the land of Lincoln, huh?
That's a pretty bold statement.
Yeah, it was. But then, by the time I was out of high school, we had two black kids in high school. They were both farmers up in Jerseyville.
How did people treat them?
Fine, great.
Normal?
I didn't pay attention to them. Didn't even know they were there.
I mean, fair enough.
But, and I didn't really pay attention to the sign, except for the fact that I knew it was there.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of very, very poor whites that lived in my town. Mm-hmm. And the blacks threatened them.
Yep.
So as a consequence, they threw up all these blocks to keep out of there. But, no, and of course when I went to Marquette, the Catholic high school, we had black kids there.
Okay.
I never thought anything about it. One way or the other.
They just wanted the money. Plus they're Christians, they don't really care about that kind of stuff. Yeah. Okay, kind of moving on, unless you think of something else on that. You kind of mentioned it with the end of World War II and all these women coming out of, having these jobs. What did you think, or more so, how did your town react to the women's movement?
How did the town react to the women's movement? People were too poor to really worry much about. My town was too poor to worry about women. In fact, if a woman had a damn good job, more power to her, because she's probably raising the old man and the kids.
Yeah.
So they didn't really care any one way or another.
Especially, I mean, obviously your mom took care of you.
Well, my mom, like I said, my mom was one of the original. I mean, she was an original women's liver, boy.
And she,
First thing was, you know, after Dad and Mom got divorced, everybody had to ask her, you know, Edith, why don't you get married? Get a man. Help you out. I don't need any man's shoes under my bed.
Got better things in my time to pick up after.
Yeah, got better things to do with my time than pick up after some man.
Yeah, she's already got one little boy's shoes under her bed. I think that's enough. Let's see. Did she kind of raise you with those ideas as well? Obviously, you mean,
yeah.
And it was very obvious within the household.
Well, it was very obvious that Mom wanted women and proved that women could do any damn thing they had the guts to do. Get out there and do.
Was she?
But she did.
Was she active, like an activist, or was it she just lived her
no.
life? She did her thing.
Lived her life, went to church, and went to work, and raised her kid.
That's right.
Period. End of conversation. Played cards. Liked to play cards. And she did go out on a few dates, but she had no intention of ever getting married again.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
or at least that's what she told me.
Finished.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Your turn. Liberal or conservative?
Okay.
Or both?
I probably would have classified myself for a long time as probably being a little bit more liberal.
Okay.
I grew up oblivious of people. My mother never talked about the races, and she never talked about the religions, and she never talked about anything. My grandmother really didn't either. And, of course, I knew what Mexicans looked like. I knew what blacks looked like. My school was not integrated with blacks. It was with the Mexicans. And for the most part, that went fine. St. Angelo didn't integrate with the blacks until after I was gone.
Oh, really?
Even married, no. And I understand that the integration went peacefully. I mean, but I wasn't living there then, so I can't answer that. I do remember one time when I had a job out of a soda fountain in Abilene. I was up visiting gone up for about a month to visit Mother, and I took this job up there. And this little black boy came up, and he was on his tiptoes, could barely see over the counter, and he had this dime. And I wanted to get for him, and he said he wanted an ice cream cone. I got him an ice cream cone, and it came and took the money. And the manager jumped right square in the middle of me and chewed me out up one side and down the other, and said, "You do not do that."
Someone's in here. Someone's a big truck is here.
Oh, it's trash man.
Oh, that's right. You do not do that. You tell them that to go down there at the end and stand down there, and that you'll wait on them when you have time.
Were you busy?
And no. Wasn't doing anything. I didn't do anything. And I just probably looked at him and I said, "No, I won't." I said, "This little boy, all he wanted was an ice cream cone. What are you talking about?" Tell him to go down there and stand. I'm not going to do that. Well, he said, "You have to do that, but you cannot serve them at the counter." And I said, "Well, I don't understand why I can't serve them at the counter." You know, he wasn't sitting down. What's the big deal? Anyway, so he told me that it was Texas state law that you could not do that. And I said, "Well, I don't believe you." And he said, "Well, it is." Anyway, I stormed off and went home and asked my mother, because I knew she worked restaurants all the time. And I said, "He tried to tell me that it was state law in Texas that you couldn't serve blacks across the counter like that." My mother said, "You can't." And I said, "Well, then for the first time in my life, I'm ashamed of being a Texan, if that's it." I quit the job. I didn't go back.
I'll tell you one thing that I found in my life is that people judge other people by the threat or the advantage of that group of people. My mother never ever said anything about a black person. She really didn't. But boy, did she not like Jews. And the reason is because Jews ran the movie industry. And she used to have to buy movies from the Jews.
Mhm.
And they tried to take advantage of her. And she hated it. And man, she just... So it depends on your experiences, I think, that you have in life with a group of people as to how you feel. It's very easy to be liberal. It's very easy to be kind to a group of people when they represent absolutely no effect on your life. But when they affect your life, it's a different matter as to how you look at them.
Anyway, so I really didn't grow up with any prejudices at all, and I think that's just because nothing was ever pointed out. Nobody ever made a point about anything. So I obviously didn't have any friends that were black because I didn't know anybody that was black. I had some friends that were Mexicans, and but the feeling even there in San Angelo then about interdating with the Mexicans was frowned upon, and it was frowned upon from both sides.
I think that was for a long time.
For a long time it was.
I mean, I think that's still frowned upon in a lot of ways.
I don't think it is so much now anymore.
Oh, of course not. Not as much.
But you know.
Was with blacks too.
Oh yeah, I mean all the races they don't
like mixing.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's not just a whites only type thing. That's a whites, Mexican, Chinese, everything. You know, they like to stay in the same ethnicity with themselves.
My comment on that always was, you know, heck, the only reason that I would dislike it if I had a daughter to marry a black man or a Mexican was it's going to be harder for them to make a go of it. It's got to be, because it's not accepted at will in society. Certain areas it is. It's okay, but in a lot of areas, it's not.
No. Right. But I know that I would talk to some of the Mexican girls, and I know one girl was dating one of the guys from out the base, and she was saying that I generally have to meet him someplace. My parents just, you know, they would go bonkers if they thought I was dating a white guy, you know.
I even remember my parents, my mom, she used to say when I was younger that she's like, I don't want you to ever date like a black person or something, and I'm like, whatever.
Well, but
I was also a kid, and I don't know how she would react to it now, you know, but it's never been something I've ever thought about.
But it wouldn't be any easier now if you were to marry one of them than it. Well, probably is. It's getting better.
It is. Yeah, it's getting better. I think it's definitely well more accepted. I still think that in certain counties and families and or wherever it is that you're at, or even religion, you know, can have its own issues.
But it's certainly a concern.
Right. Some of the things I considered liberal at the time are really not. I didn't really consider them liberal. I could just consider them that it's what you do, like equal wage. You know, equal wage and getting jobs, you know, based on qualification, not on whatever else. And so I guess that at the time, when I got old enough to vote, I probably would have said that my leanings were probably more Democratic. That was some of the stuff that John Kennedy put forth. But it wasn't long after that I started, I don't know, Democratic Party they moved away from me. I didn't move away from them. And I don't consider myself aligned really particularly with the Republican Party. There are a lot of Republicans, not as many now as there used to be. It used to be, I definitely didn't belong in the Republican Party, but I didn't belong in the Democratic Party either.
More independent or moderate.
But I do believe in equality for everyone. I don't think that the blacks should be segregated into anything. I think they should be given every opportunity that we are. But there again, I'm like him. I don't know that I think they should be given it in spite of, or just just because. And I know one time when I was working at Hormel, we had an opening in the office there, and they just said, you'll hire a black girl. Well, what if you don't get a black girl that applies? Well, you'll hire a black girl. You know, it's like, that doesn't make any sense, you know. And I knew this lady that she wanted the job, and she said, I'll come apply. And I said, well, you won't get it. I said, you're not qualified. And she said, well, I have this, that, and I said, no.
What qualification we're looking for?
Wrong color.
And I told her, I said, that's our orders from corporate headquarters and stuff. Well, we tried 2 of them. It didn't, finally we ended up hiring Linda anyway. But it was just, so in that I don't believe in it, that you can just go and do that. But likewise, I don't think they should be discriminated against. I never have thought that they should. I remember Paul's grandmother, God love her, Grandma. She was staying with us when I'm down there, I guess right before Christmas. And the kids got home from school, and Barbara comes running in through there and with this little friend of hers, and she said, can I go over to Arlen's and, you know, until dinner is ready? And I said, yes, but come home at whatever time I told her.
5 o'clock.
To come home. I said, come home then. So outdoors, she laid down her book, and outdoors she went. She must have been about 2nd grade. I don't know. 2nd, 3rd, like that. I mean, they're in Big Grandma's eyes. And she said, Betty, that little girl with Barbara was black. And I said, yes, she was. And she said, did you let her go over up with her? Over to their house? And I said, Grandma, he's a major in the Air Force.
It makes same money.
He makes more money than we do, or else, no, Mel, maybe you were a major by then. Anyway, and I said, they live in the same type of house, in the same neighborhood, it's on the base.
Yeah, they're not any different.
You know, she goes to the Catholic school with Barbara, you know. I don't think it went over well, but she didn't say anything else.
Let me tell you a funny story.
I didn't either.
It was I don't know if it was the same time, but it was one of the times when Big Grandma was down visiting us, and we were going to give her a party, or it was Christmas, and we were going to have a party.
It was her birthday.
It was her birthday, I guess it was.
It was her birthday.
And we took her over to the officers club, and we had the maitre d' over there, who was a black man, and we wanted to. I wanted to really put on a show for Grandma, because this guy would come out and he would do flaming shish kebab, and he would pour the brandy on the shish kebab on the swords, and he'd light it, and
They turn the lights out.
They turn out the lights, and he'd put on the dance, and he really did one whale of a job. Then he'd off on your plate, you know, while a little bit of flaming, and he started this routine, and my grandma grabbed me and she says, Paul, what's that nigger doing?
And of course the whole place was quiet while George did his dance. And everybody in the thing heard it, including George. Heard it. And he did just what you did. He broke up. He started to laugh. And he yelled. John. He was still laughing when he came over to the table.
What did he say?
Well, he didn't say anything, you know. I apologized to him, and he just laughed. He said, no, it's all right.
I'm used to it. All right. Last question. It may maybe affect you more. Maybe women's movement.
Which one? What does that mean? You mean when the ERA and they were burning their bras and doing all of this?
Well,
I thought it was stupid, personally.
Think about your adolescence still, you know.
Oh, no. Back then I didn't. Back then there wasn't a women's movement that I know of.
Well, wasn't it not started in the 30s where they started to get the right to vote?
But I don't remember.
20s.
That's right.
Did that affect us? It didn't affect us as kids, I don't think, in school.
Well, no. In 20s, that, you know, women already had the vote. So there wasn't. Oh, I guess they weren't really what. And I did.
Well, what about after the war? You know, like he was saying, you know, these women trying to go from working to back to the
Well, my mother
life.
was like his though. My mother had to work. She always had to work. My grandmother had to work. My aunt had to work. I mean, they had to work. They were going to work regardless, and they were not. And we didn't have aircraft.
Was the inequality between the two.
Mm-hmm.
The inequality, the women got so much underpaid compared to the men,
Mm-hmm.
and of course the industry didn't want to give them up because they got the same amount of work out of them
For cheaper.
Well,
for substantially less money.
But we didn't have industry there. I think probably
no,
the biggest things, and really, I didn't think about going. Heather, I didn't think about hardly anything when I was growing up, except being outside or reading a book or doing my drawing. I wasn't politically or socially interested in what was going on. It was later that I began to see, you know, differences in the fields that women weren't supposed to go into, and the ones that they were kind of barred from. You know, you didn't see women lawyers, you didn't see women doctors or anything. But you know, at the time, I guess that was the way it was, and just accepted the status quo. In fact, I don't remember hearing any of my friends really talk about them wanting to.
When you ask about the differences, it's strange because
Now, my mother would have been another thing. You should have been asking her stuff. She wanted to do everything.
Is she an activist?
No, but like if her daddy told her she couldn't do something, by God, listen to where there's a will, there's a way, and she would do it. You know.
But you know, when their women were expected in certain roles, and you asked about that a bunch earlier, about the roles, and I never really thought about it very much, but they were in set roles. They weren't supposed to do certain things. They weren't supposed to speak out. They definitely didn't run in politics.
Yep.
You didn't see them in politics at all. There just weren't any.
They could be secretaries, they could be nurses.
Barefoot and pregnant, boy, that's.
And they could be teachers.
What was expected.
And you could work in a department store.
It was definitely expected. Yeah, they could work in certain areas, but they were underpaid. And
they worked in
and the areas they worked in were definitely limited, and the same way in the military.
And you didn't see men in these areas.
No.
No.
I mean, you became a nurse. You did not become a doctor. You know, you became a nurse.
Or vice versa. You became a doctor, not a nurse. For the men. You know.
So.
And of course, all that's changed, and that's good.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how much gender roles are still instilled into the children
And they
today.
haven't reached equality in pay probably yet, quite, but that's getting very close now.
Yeah.
And there's absolutely no reason for that in my mind.
No, there
There's
isn't.
no reason for that. If the woman is qualified and can do the job, there is no reason that she shouldn't have it. And I mean, given that all other things are equal.
Right.
And
whatnot. As Papa does that filing his nails.
Knocking them down.
All right, so I think we're done. You glad?